Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today, gonna discuss the what's next on the Pac-Man, Manny Pacquiao, the former 8 division world champion, following his tough unanimous decision loss to Ugas on August 21st. Now, again, this was a very tough loss on Manny. It was. Manny was going in the clear favorite after Errol Spence had to pull out of the fight with a retina tear. And Pacquiao took the fight on 11-day notice. And, he came in a clear favorite. I thought he was going to win, but Ugas is a good fighter. Ugas is a top 5 welterweight. I had him number 5. You can argue number 4. You could argue even though what's his name, Sean Porter, got the win that night in March 2019, a lot of people can argue that Ugas should have beat him. So heading into this one, I called it, because Ugas, ever since the fight with Porter, was on fire. He destroyed Omar Figueroa, and then he went out against, Abel Ramos, and became the regular champion, tough fighter. And then he went out against, Mike Dallas, I believe, and destroyed him in a couple rounds, or one round. This dude Ugas was smoking coming in. He was ready. He had a full training camp prior, because he was set up to fight on the undercard. So, he was ready to go. And he is hungry. Not a big name, and he straight up went in there and cleanly beat Manny. He beat him to the punch, outboxed him, outjabbed him. It was that jab. That jab's a killer. A lot of great fighters suffer on the jab. I'll tell you right now, Floyd Mayweather suffered with fighters that could throw jabs. He did. De La Hoya, Zab Judah, those guys affected Floyd with their jab. Some of the fights that Floyd struggled in, it was because of a jab. I'll tell you that right now. But all that being said, that happens a lot. You can throw a good jab. You can beat anybody, even the all-time greats. That's just a point-blank fact right there. But, Ugas was the bigger man, and especially when you are the bigger man, and you can throw an effective jab, it means a world of a difference. Tommy the Hitman Hearns, great jab. Tall guy for his division. Lennox Lewis, Vladimir Klitschko, Vitaly Klitschko, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. These guys can jab. When fucking Deontay Wilder throws his jab, the dude is effective with his power punching behind the jab. So that is an effective punch. Ugas has an awkward style, and he can hit, and he can punch, and he punches with power. He doesn't have that one punch type knockout power for most guys, but he hits you hard enough to keep you honest. And Manny felt that. So it was a tough loss for Manny. But now the big question is, what's next for the Pac-Man following this loss? We're going to run through the top 10 and see what could be coming up next following the loss. Does Manny even want to still fight? Manny has mentioned a possible rematch. He's made quote-unquote excuses. And they, I validate them as excuses, but they're excuses with some facts and some validity in terms of you have to consider some of the things that he's saying. You have to consider his age in the fight. You have to consider he took the fight on short notice, even though Ugas did too, but you also have to consider that he was overlooking Ugas, and these kind of things happen. That's why I'll get into it, but a rematch could make sense. But let's run through the top 10 and see what's possible for Manny Pacquiao coming off of this defeat, if he decides to resume his career. Obviously, number 1, the guy who was supposed to fight, the unified champ, Errol Spence Jr. Does this fight make sense now? I don't think it makes sense next, unless Spence just wants that win on his resume. Unless Pacquiao's just going to overlook overlook Ugas and be like, hey, everybody knows I'm better than that. I don't even need to fight him again. I'll go after Spence if Spence wants me. Spence, it's going to be a tough decision. Do I go after the guy that beat Pacquiao with not a big a name to unify belts? Or do I go after Pacquiao and take that big money fight, where I'm going to be a heavy favorite? What do you do in that scenario? I think it is possible. I don't think it's likely next, but I think it is possible that they could fight still. Number 2, Terence Crawford. Man, would Pacquiao want to fight Crawford following that loss? You know, the fight almost happened. I know that. It almost went down. It didn't go down, though. I'm not sure is my answer. I'm going to say possible, but I'm not sure, and I'm going to lean towards the less likely. Ugas is number 3 right now. A rematch seems more possible than anything in my book. I think these two guys definitely could rematch. I'm leaning towards they're probably going to rematch. If Pacquiao's coming out making these excuses and saying already, I could fight in January, then I think he's probably leaning towards taking a rematch and wants to leave no doubt. Because I think Pacquiao does want to close it out with a big payday against a guy like Spence or Crawford. I think he wants to close his career out going out against the best guys who have the names right now. Ugas doesn't have that name, so I think he's going to use Ugas, make money, beat him, and then go after Spence or Crawford. Likely Spence. We'll see. Number 4, Shawn Porter. You know, it's up in the air. This would be the kind of guy that Pacquiao would take to get back into a world title, but he doesn't need that kind of fight, so I'm going to lean towards the less likely. It's possible, but I'm going to lean towards the less likely because Pacquiao doesn't need Shawn Porter. You know, I have Pacquiao number 5 now. Number 6 would be Danny Garcia. Danny's already making plans to move to 154. I'm leaning towards the less likely, but considering Danny lost to Spence, Pacquiao just lost to Ugas, it would still make a lot of money. If Pacquiao wanted to get a win under his belt and fight somebody, I think Danny would fight him, and I think the fight is possible, but I'm going to lean towards the less likely. Number 7 is Mikey Garcia. I could see this fight going down. I really could. I could see Pacquiao and Mikey still fighting each other. It was the fight that most people thought we were going to get, and then Pacquiao went in another direction, but that doesn't mean it can't happen, and I think Mikey would definitely be down to fight him, and it'd be a big fight. You know, so, and Mikey's a smaller welterweight. We wouldn't have to worry about the size disadvantage so much. So, possible. Again, I'm leaning towards the less likely, but I definitely think it's a possibility. Number 8 is Jaron Boots Ennis. Pacquiao's not going to want anything to do with Ennis. Ennis is a beast. He's big. He's young. He's undefeated power. Pacquiao's not going to want to have anything to do with him. Ennis is fighting Thomas Delorme next, most likely in October and November. Not going to happen right here. Number 9, Jamal James. Not seeing this one. Wouldn't make any sense. James, not a big name, lengthy, tall, not an attractive style that would work for Pacquiao, so I'm not seeing it. And then, you know, my two-way tie for 10th, and this was before Virgil Ortiz won, but they're still all in the top 10. Josecito Lopez. If Pacquiao wanted to go and just smash on a guy and take a guy who's going to stand right in front of him, Lopez is a prime suspect for that. If Pacquiao wants to kind of start smaller and work his way back, but I don't know if Pacquiao wants to do that at this age. So I'm going to lean towards the less likely, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. And then also tied for 10th, undefeated Virgil Ortiz Jr. I'm not seeing that one. I think it's a good fight, but I don't see it. I don't think Pacquiao's considering it. Ortiz is tall. He's big, he's young, he's undefeated. There's no need for it. And I just don't think it happens. So that's it. So that's a what's next on the Pac-Man, Manny Pacquiao. If I had to pick an opponent, the most likely opponent, I'm going to say Yordenis Ugas in a rematch for the title. Ugas says he's down to fight him. He'll go and make a big payday again and give Manny and leave no doubt against Manny, and Manny has something to prove. For me, if Manny's the fighting champion he's always been and he wants to continue and he wants that big payday to end his career, he goes in against Ugas, beats him or loses, and he can retire saying, hey, this guy was just better than me. Or he beats him and then goes in against Crawford. But I think Spence or Crawford. But I think that makes the most sense. Manny is in a position where he can pretty much still get anybody he wants. So Spence is a possibility still. Mikey Garcia. But I really believe if he returns to the ring, it's going to be against Yordenis Ugas next. So that's my prediction. That's what's next on the Pac-Man, Manny Pacquiao. Hope you guys enjoyed this. True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.